Alright, what's up guys? Thanks for stopping by my channel. My name is John, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at the Sony a6300 or a6500 and kind of talking about whether or not it's still relevant in today's video production game. I've been using this camera for probably at least 3 years now, on and off. At this point I've personally upgraded to the a7 III and an FS5, but still use this on some behind the scenes stuff, or if we need a fourth angle, we'll throw this on a tripod as well. Personally, I've shot some of my favorite videos on this camera. I shot a motocross video in South Carolina that was one of my favorite videos, and honestly, I've learned pretty much everything I know about filming using this camera. At this point, I think it's got to be at least 4 years old now, 4 or 5 years old when it came out. But that said, I personally really see this as a super relevant camera still. The new Sony cameras, Sony a7 IIIs or a7Ss, still have some of the same codecs that this camera has, and this camera kind of brought to a more consumer market. This camera shoots at 4K, 100 megabit per second encoding rate, which is kind of been my only issue with this camera so far. That 100 megabit per second is rivaled by other cameras in the industry like Panasonic's GH4 and GH5. Those cameras have a much higher encoding rate, and because of that, it gives you a lot more room to work with the footage in post. So with this camera, you do have a lot of room to work in post if you shoot something like S-Log2 or 3. However, if you don't nail the footage in camera and get it exposed correctly, get your white balance right, you're gonna end up with a lot of blotchiness in footage. When you work with something like a Panasonic, you have a lot more leeway because of that higher bit depth. Personally, I would say that this camera, if you're just getting into video production, is an excellent choice for pretty much anybody. You can find it online pretty cheap now. I think you can get a used one for around $500 or $600, which is insane. I know when I bought it, I paid, I think it was $1,200 with a 16-50 that comes with it in the kit. But now that it's down to $500 or $600, it's such a reasonable way to get into filmmaking and kind of actually explore those higher level picture profiles like S-Log2 and S-Log3, which really take your footage to the next level and kind of put you on a more professional level. The other nice thing about this camera is that it shoots 120 at 1080. Honestly, I don't shoot 120 a lot because the footage does fall apart a little bit. But if you can keep your ISO low, keep everything lit properly, and nail your exposure in camera, you can get some great looking 120 footage out of this thing as well. There's actually some points about this camera that I think perform a little bit better than today's Sony cameras. For example, the Sony a7 III, I think this thing blows it out of the water in terms of autofocus. Probably mainly due to the smaller sensor size on this camera. So this is an APS-C sensor. Obviously the Sony a7 III is full frame, and since it has a smaller sensor size, it's incredible how well this thing focuses, and at times it almost feels like it's reading your mind. It really grabs faces perfectly. The face detect is incredible, and honestly, it's something that I really miss about shooting with this camera more frequently. So personally, do I think this camera is still relevant in today's shooting world? 100%. This has been one of my favorite cameras, one of the most trustworthy powerhouses I've had in my arsenal, and I would highly recommend it to pretty much anybody trying to get into video production, or even somebody who's been shooting for a while, already has a solid setup and wants something for behind the scenes. This camera is still, in my eyes, very relevant today, and I would definitely recommend it to pretty much anybody. Alright guys, thanks so much for stopping by my channel today. If you thought this video was interesting and want to see more like it, it would be awesome if you'd subscribe to my channel. Alright, later.